What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and today we'll be going over how to UV unwrap the Jordan 1. In the previous video, as you see on my channel, we went through over how to model the sole, the outsole, the tongue, everything about the Jordan 1. We went down and we broke it down. If you missed that video, go ahead and check it out on my page. Today we'll be going over how to UV unwrap our model so that it's perfect and usable for us to use in Substance Painter. Be on the lookout for my Patreon, where I'll be dropping this full model on my Patreon with textures and also the UV map, so you don't want to miss that. Without further ado, let's hop into the video. Alright, so jumping into Blender, you can see that we have our 3D model fully fleshed out. Everything is done. We got the laces, got the Nike check, we got the sole. Everything that we need is completed. Now, before we actually go into the UV process, one thing that we need to do is apply every modifier that is connected to this. So let's go ahead and click each and make sure that we apply all of them. Now, before you actually do this, let me just hide these real quick. Before you actually do that step, let's just go ahead and make a duplicate of this. So Shift D, then we want to move it, and we want to call this main underscore copy underscore 1. You don't have to name it that, but if you do, just go ahead and name it whatever you want. All right, so with that being named, let's go ahead and move on to actually applying each of these modifiers. So we're just gonna click on apply all, apply all. Now, the reason why this is important to apply all our modifiers is because in the export setting, it gives you an option to export the OBJ with the applied modifiers. So when we're UV unwrapping, let's say we UV unwrap this, because this is made of a subdivision modifier and a solidify modifier, Blender doesn't know that we actually want to UV unwrap this edge too, because right now it's just a flat plane. Let me solo this out. So as you can see, it's just a flat plane. So when we UV unwrap, we're just UV unwrapping the flat plane and not the thickness that is added. So we need to go ahead and apply each modifier. So let's just go ahead and do that. All right, so now you can see that everything is applied. If we click on every piece of our panel, except for this, let's go ahead and apply that one. Everything is applied. Now we can go ahead and move to texture. So let's go ahead to our texture panel, shading tab. There we go. Now, if your shading tab looks a little different, I just did a couple adjustments to my layout so it's more cleaner. So you can see that we have our shoe and we are ready to start UV unwrapping it. But the first thing we need to do is go ahead and add some textures to this. I love to start with the sole. It's just how I work. So we're just gonna go ahead and select it. Gonna scroll down to the materials panel and we're gonna hit new. Now what we could do for this is just go ahead and Control T with the node wrangler add-on, and then we want to go to new untitled field. That's okay. And we want to go to UV grid and then new image. There you go. Now you can see automatically there's already a UV set, but as you can see, it's not what we need. Let's go ahead and turn off the word opacity so you guys can see better. All right, there you go. It is not usable because you got these areas stretching and everything. So the first thing we're going to do for the sole is go ahead into edit mode. So we want to go ahead and unwrap. Okay, so you see it took a little while to unwrap, but you know, it did a decent job unwrapping this. So just doing a look around, make sure everything's good. So for the sole, this is actually a great unwrap, so we won't need to do much. And the reason why it unwrapped it so cleanly and smooth is because the way that we actually modeled this. There we go. Not too much stretching, a little bit distortion. So if we open our UV panel right here, let's go ahead and do horizontal UV editor. So now if we select this, we can see what it unwrapped for us, which actually isn't bad. So for the sake of this part of the sole, we're just gonna leave it at this part. So let's go ahead and move on to the other part of the shoe. Now the midsole is gonna be completely easy to do because it's literally just a cube with a couple loop cuts. So let's go ahead and add the material. And then what we're going to do, we need to name these so when we add them to Substance Painter, we know exactly what we're working for. So we'll put midsole, mid underscore sole. There you go, hit enter. All right, perfect. And we already have it set up because we just copied the material. Now we're going to go ahead and select everything, and we can see that this UV map is not usable. So first thing you want to do before you try any other methods, just go ahead and hit unwrap. Okay. Okay, so we have an error first. Unwrap failed to solve one of one island edge seems to. Okay, so let's see what the issue is with this. So because it's not giving us exactly what we want, and I think I found the issue already. What we need to do is actually go ahead and mark some scenes. So we're gonna go ahead and mark that. So we're gonna hit U, mark scene. All right, perfect. And we also need this right here, but not these up here. So hit C. There you go. Just remove them. All right, perfect. We're gonna go ahead and U, mark seam. Okay, and let's go ahead and do this bottom. So holding down Shift, Control. All right, perfect. Now once we got everything selected, let's go ahead and hit U, mark seam. There we go. So now once we unwrap this, you unwrap, we should get something that looks decent. So we're just looking at the unwrap. We can see that now it looks 10 times better. Now let's go see how it looks in the viewport. Okay. All right, perfect. So we can use that. So now that we have the sole and the midsole, let's go ahead and work on these bottom pieces too. Let's go ahead and add this. Okay, this one's already okay. It's not unwrapped. So what we're going to do is go ahead and do. Actually, this part will be okay since it's part of the sole. So let's work on this Nike check. Assign the material. Make it a new material. I'm gonna put Nike underscore sole. Now what we're going to do, because this is just on the bottom, we're gonna go ahead and hit 7, go into edit mode, select everything, U, project from view. All right, so the reason why I did this because it's on the bottom of the sole and we don't need to worry about the stretching on the side. Project from view is perfect to use because literally what it does, it just projects the UV map directly onto the face, which is actually better. But by looking at this, we might even get a better, let's go ahead and look if we just hit unwrap. If we hit unwrap, it still works perfectly. But let's just leave it at the project from view. So we got the sole complete. So if we just take a look at what we've done with the sole, let's go ahead and select this. All right, so let's just go ahead and see what we've done so far. So we see that we have the sole done and everything looks good, ready to texture, and also the midsole. So because the upper is very simple, all we're going to do is just add our material, like that. We're gonna call this toe cap. So understand cap, that is perfect. And you can see it looks a little wonky, but that's fine. So first thing we're gonna do is hit U, unwrap, and see what it gives us. All right, so we're having that same issue. So we're gonna do this the correct way. Boom, select that piece, select that. All right, so let's go ahead and select the bottom pieces. There you go. Selecting all of them, the ones that we need. And this is how we do it. Go ahead and select all of them. All right, perfect. And then we're gonna go ahead and select this. All right, perfect. So once we got everything selected, let's go ahead and hit U, mark seam. Now let's just hit U, unwrap, and see what it gives us. Okay, so there is a little twisting, but this is fine. I really don't want to add a split in between. So this is fine exactly how it is. So let's go ahead and move on. So the side panels are easy. Let's go ahead and select all of it. You unwrap. We also got to add material to it. Slit underscore 1. You can name it whatever you want. All right, let's go ahead and UV unwrap that again. All right, select that. You mark seam. All right, let's see what it gives us. Okay, so for this one, because it's very flat, we could just cheat this and just do U, project from view, and it works perfectly. All right, perfect. So we actually need to do this to the other side. So let's join these together. So Control J to join them. Now they're joined. Now all we need to do is just select this part, and we can either do it in this way and just hit U, project from view, and there we go. We got those sides. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and move past the simpler portions where you're just hitting U, unwrap, and going into the more complex designs of the shoe and giving you guys some tips and tricks just in case you guys get stuck unwrapping your model. So we got majority of the shoe complete. Let's go ahead and continue to move forward as we finish out this UV process. So let's go ahead and select all of this. We're gonna go ahead and give it a material, toe. _1. What reason why it's called score_1? Because there's actually another object underneath this. Perfect. Let's go ahead. AU unwrap. Okay, nothing. So let's see project view. Okay, then let's see this. All right, so because this is a little funny, what we're going to do is just select a couple of edges. Let's see what edges we need to select. One right there, one right there. That should be good. Let's see what it gives us. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and U, mark seam, A, U, unwrap. It's a little higher dense. Okay, so we definitely need that split in between. Right there you go. So because these holes, we gotta go ahead and just hit Shift, Control, and just click. That clicks the shortest path for us. And we just gotta do this all the way up to here. There you go, perfect right there. Oh, let's get that last piece. Bang! Hit mark seam. All right, so AU unwrap. Okay, and it's still not looking good. Okay, so what do we need to do in order to make this 10 times better? So, you know, if we look at the actual model, we might be able to finesse this just a little bit. So if project from view and your seams aren't working, one thing that I like to do is just hit U, smart UV, 66 degrees. And because a lot of this is hidden, this will be okay for our model. Let's look at it one more time. All right, perfect. This is a case of something that is more complex because we do have all these little holes and they might interfere with everything, but using the smart project usually gets the job done. All right, so let's go ahead and move to the Nike check. I don't think the Nike check needs any explanation. It's literally just the same thing over and over again. Let's go ahead and add a material, Nike _ check. All right, perfect. So we're just gonna go ahead and select that. All right, we're gonna go ahead and mark seam. U unwrap. There you go. We can work with that. Not too bad, not too bad. We can work with that. All right, so moving on to completing the rest of the shoe. Let's go ahead and work on this back tab. Same concept we did for the side paneling. Because this is straight across, we won't even have to worry about the UV unwrapping like that. So one thing we're going to do is just hit U, and we could do Q projection, which gives you something that looks like this. Or we can even do our trick with the project from view. So U, project from view. There you go. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and work on this piece right here. Go ahead and select everything. Before we do that, let's add the material. I'm gonna call this lace. Make sure everything is selected. Gotta select this bottom piece right here. Select all of these. Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3. Select. All right, perfect. So once we got that select, before we do anything else, let's just see how it looks. So we're gonna U, mark seam, A, unwrap. All right, so that is exactly what we don't want. Okay, so we definitely need a slit in the back. So let's go ahead and it's perfect. Gonna hit U, mark seam, U unwrap, U unwrap. Okay, so the reason it's unwrapping like this is because if you look, we only have one part, but this is actually broken because of the thickness. This has 2 sides, so it's not just flat. Remember, we applied the modifier. So what might help is just go ahead and select the insides of this. Let's go ahead and select the inside. You can see that it's a little bit better, but we're still getting some issues right here. Okay, let's take these out. So hit U, clear seam, AU, unwrap. Okay, we are getting a better wrap. So because we have these holes, we probably need to do some cuts right here also. So let's go ahead and select these. There we go, and then mark seam, AU. So once we added those holes into it, you can see that it's much better. Let's go ahead and do this to this side also. Select the rings, U, mark seams, select everything, U, unwrap. All right, perfect. Just looking at everything, so you can see there's a couple things that was causing issues with our unwrap. The first issue was because it's double-sided and the thickness, and the way we fix that is just by selecting the first layer and then the second layer, as you can see right here, and also cutting it in the back and cutting it in the front. Now, the other issue that presented itself was these holes, and one way we fix that is just adding a mark seam right where the hole is and connecting them. All right, that unwrap is not too bad. So let's go ahead and work on the lacelet 3 which I'm going to call these right here. So because these are on the side, we probably can just get away with a Q projection. Okay, you see we have some issues right here. So instead of doing that, let's just go ahead and do a U project from view. There we go. Perfect. And let's go ahead and join these two because they'll be using the same material. Control J. Go ahead and select everything. Boom. U project from view. Okay, perfect. Because we did a project from view and then we joined them together, you can see that the UVs are crossing like that. Now, it might not be an issue, but just to be safe, let's just go ahead and move one side of these. There you go, select that. Then you want to hit A on the UV map. And just move it like this. And you can rotate it a little bit, that's fine. And then let's go ahead and select the other half. Move it to the side. And then we want to do this for the same thing for the other side. Boom. So now, once we hit A, you can see that they're both not intersecting with each other. Now we can go ahead and adjust these how we want them. Now for the laces, this is a hot mess. But for the laces, what we're going to do is we're going to add a material. I'm going to call this lace. There we go, lace right there. And then we also want to join these together. So Control J. There we go. So now once they're joined, now laces are a little tricky, but there's a few things that we can do. So first thing we want to do is hit unwrap. Okay, that doesn't work. We're going to U, Q projection. Okay, still nothing. So we're going to go ahead and do a smart UV. All right, so as you can see, nothing is really working for these, and that's fine. All right, so for the laces, I just ended up projecting view because the way that I modeled them was a little weird. They're not all connected. They're actually individual, and it was giving me issues. So what I just did is top down view, U, project from view, and it gave us the wrap that we can work with. All right, so moving on to the tongue of the shoe. So we'll go ahead and isolate this. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a material. So hit U, unwrap. So let's go ahead and select these edges. All right, and then we also can do this and just remove these parts right here. A U, mark seam, A, U, unwrap. See how it looks. Now let's go ahead and do the back side. Add a material to it. Okay, A, U, smart project. It's not too bad. Let's go ahead and use smart project again. All right, there you go. So that gave us a decent wrap that we can work with. Parts of it. There you go. That top piece. There we go. Hit A, U, mark seam. Oh, U, mark seam. A, unwrap. Let's actually delete this one. U, clear seam. See how it looks. Unwrap. There you go. That okay, we can work with that. All right, there you go. So that looks 10 times better. Let's go ahead and work on these side laces, which we're just gonna do a project from view. Aim that upper. All right, so we're now down to the final pieces of the shoe, which is the cushion and the actual tab right here. So let's go ahead and solo this out. Just hit it with a smart UV. I'll make sure that we assign the material first. Go ahead down to material right there. Okay, this should work. It's gonna be a very small detail. All right, and then let's go ahead and work on the final piece, which is the cushion. Just look at it real quick. Go ahead and add material. Hit U, smart UV project. Okay, so this is not as clean as I want it, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do this manually. So select that. There we go. Select this bottom piece. So this back piece also. Boom, boom, boom. All right. And then you want to come up the bottom to the top right there. Make sure that's not selected. That's not selected either. All right. And then hit U. Mark seam. A, U, unwrap. And then this gives us a much better wrap than the smart UV project. All right, so this is the final product of our UV unwrap. If we just look at everything, we can see that there's nothing that is wonky. There's nothing that's out of place. Everything looked cohesive and it's ready to be shipped to Substance Painter. All right, so now to export and import into Substance Painter, let's go ahead and select everything. And we're gonna go to File, Export, Wavefront OBJ. And so you can save this file wherever you want to save it to. Now, just a few things before you actually hit the export wavefront OBJ. You want to hit selected only. We already applied all the modifiers, so that's okay. And everything looks good. So Jordan 1 OBJ, and you want to hit export wavefront OBJ. That is all that you need to do to prepare it for Substance Painter. And once you click it, it's all good. So that brings us to the end of the video. If you stayed along and you've learned something, go ahead and leave in the comment section below what you've learned and what you're applying to your own models. Without that being said, don't forget we'll also be dropping this file in our Patreon. So go ahead and make sure that you follow us on the Patreon to receive this file, the UV unwrap file, the base file, and also the texture file, which we'll be doing in part 3 of the Jordan 1 3D creation. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. All right, guys, have a blessed year.